Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for today's video because you are set to learn so much. And if I leave here with just one sunscreen addict, my mission will be complete. Before I started wearing sunscreen, I had so many reasons as to why I'm not doing so. I didn't know what sunscreen is, what it does, what the hell is SPF, and why are there different numbers and what does that mean. I also didn't think that I needed it. I was like, we'll age anyway, so what's the point? Plus, the sun is a natural, God-given resource, so why would it harm us in any way? Another reason is that I'm black, and I didn't think that black people needed sunscreen. And I blame this on pop culture because if you think about it, have you ever seen a black person in a movie applying sunscreen on their skin? They usually just make it seem like it's a thing meant for white people only. And lastly, I didn't think that sunscreen is something that you need to think about if you are under the age of 40. Knowing all that I know now, I kinda regret why I didn't start wearing sunscreen earlier. In this video, I'll be telling you what sunscreen is, what it does, why you should be wearing sunscreen, why you're making a mistake if you're not wearing sunscreen, and also the types of sunscreens out there. I'll start by saying that the most popular kinds of sunscreens out there are either Korean sunscreens or American sunscreens. I think our supermarket shelves are mostly full of American sunscreens, and American sunscreens tend to be too thick or too dry. There's just never the perfect kind of sunscreen. But Koreans have perfected the art of sunscreens. They have the best sunscreens out there. That's because they stay reinventing their sunscreens, trying to find out how they can make it more moisturized, less of a white cast. US sunscreens usually need to meet very tight standards. In fact, it's said that they still use the same regulations that they were using 20 years ago. So in this video, I'll mostly be referring to Korean brands, although you'll see a US brand somewhere in here.
You're a stone wall and I'm a wrecking ball.
So simply put, sunscreen is a liquid, cream, or gel that protects our skin from the sun. Why do we need protection from the sun? Because the sun emits UV radiation, which is a known human carcinogen. There are 3 UV rays emitted by the sun, and that's A, B, and C. C doesn't usually seep into the atmosphere, but A and B do. A is known as the aging ray, so unprotected exposure to UVA leads to aging, fine wrinkles, diminished collagen, while B is the burning ray. So exposure to B causes sunburns, dehydrated skin, freckles, spotting, and ultimately skin cancer. In the last 50 years, melanoma cases have shot up more than any other type of cancer, and sun damage is also the main cause of aging. So you're probably watching this in a cold location thinking, I'm safe from sun, I don't need any sunscreen, and you could never be more wrong about that. UVB rays are obviously not present on a cold day because you won't go getting sunburns when it's raining, but UVA rays are present 24/7, and UVA is the strongest of the two. It can penetrate your skin and go deep down where the collagen is manufactured, and then it destroys all of it. It doesn't matter if it is 6 a.m., if it is 6 p.m., if it is raining, if it is snowing, if you're sitting at a shade, if you're wearing a straight jacket, UVA will always get to you, but at different intensities as per those examples. I didn't even know that this stood for something. SPF is sun protection factor. You'll always see different numbers attached next to the word SPF. SPF 15, SPF 30, 45, 60, 70, and naturally you'd think that the higher the SPF, the more the protection, but no. Actually, the higher the SPF, the more expensive the product. There's literally this much difference between buying an SPF 70 and an SPF 15, because they say while an SPF 15 is providing 93% protection, an SPF 70 is providing 94.5 protection. An example like that. The difference difference is so slim. So there's really no need to buy a very high SPF. Probably if the sunscreen has another property that you're looking for, then go for it. SPF is basically a measure of how your skin will perform against UVB rays, and also how long you can stay out in the sun before you need another application. So normally if you're out in the sun and it takes you 20 minutes to feel like your skin has had enough, it's practically on fire, you take the SPF value, SPF 15 times 20 minutes, you'll get 300 minutes. Of course, divide it by 60, so it'll take you 5 hours, which means you can stay out 5 hours before you burn. Notice that I haven't used the word aging in the past few sentences, and that's because a sunscreen with SPF protection only does not guarantee you protection from UVA.
How can I get through?
Yep, you heard me right. There are sunscreens out there that will protect you from sunburns, but they won't protect you from rapid aging. So it all comes down to what you want to achieve. Are you okay with protecting your skin from sunburns and ignoring the aging side? If your answer is no, then your ideal sunscreen would be one that protects you from both. Whenever you're buying a sunscreen, there are a few keywords that you need to look for on the packaging. One is broad spectrum, which basically means it will protect you from both UVA and UVB. Two is the word PA. PA ranking is mostly used in Korean sunscreens, and it refers to the amount of protection the sunscreen gives you from UVA rays. The higher the PA, the more protection from UVA. Third thing is the words UVA and UVB. Remember, SPF ranking only refers to UVB protection. When choosing an SPF, think about your current situation. Are you planning a beach holiday, which of course would necessitate a higher SPF? Is it winter, which would be useless buying an SPF sunscreen because that would protect you from UVB, and there's no UVB during winter? You'd go for a lower SPF but a broad spectrum sunscreen. Is it the summer season? Of course, a broad spectrum sunscreen with a high PA.
Lord knows I'm trying, but I can't get through.
So there's actually types of sunscreen out there: chemical sunscreens and physical sunscreens. The first time I heard of chemical sunscreen, I was like, okay, I don't need that. Let me move on to physical sunscreen. But the two types of sunscreen are actually very important, and both has its unique advantages and disadvantages. Chemical sunscreens usually have active ingredients designed to break down UVA rays. They seep into your skin, and once they are absorbed, they die off. At this point, I know you're like, Kish, thanks for the information, but how do I even identify a chemical sunscreen in the supermarket? Chemical sunscreens usually have specific chemical filters. You'll be looking for the words octinoxate, octi-octo. If you see those types of words, that's a chemical sunscreen. They usually have a very light texture and absorbs so easily. It spreads easily, so you end up using less product, and also a lot of them are very moisturizing, so you can even skip your moisturizing step because the sunscreen has already taken care of that. And it's also great for dry and dehydrated skin. Chemical sunscreens are also known to give you a very polished look, like you have a shiny appearance after wearing a chemical sunscreen. But on the flip side, this is a chemical product, so these chemical filters cause reactions for sensitive skin types. Some people turn red, other people get rashes, and another disadvantage is some chemical sunscreens are photo unstable, which basically means that it absorbs so much UVA. The UVA kills those chemical filters, and then it reaches a point that it's dead, like it's not even working anymore. So it's very important to keep reapplying this sunscreen during the day. These types tend to sit on top of your skin and then block all the UVA and UVB. So while chemical penetrates, physical sits on top, blocks everything, and this is known as the most ideal type of sunscreen. To identify a mineral sunscreen, you will be looking for two key ingredients: zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. They are both non-comedogenic, which means that they won't clog your pores. And thanks to titanium dioxide, this is known as the white cast sunscreen. So whenever you see somebody out there looking white in the sun, that's because they are wearing a physical type of sunscreen. Any sunscreen that does not have the word zinc oxide or titanium dioxide is a chemical type of sunscreen. Sunscreen with the word titanium dioxide only, still physical sunscreen. Any sunscreen with titanium, zinc, and those other chemical filters that I mentioned is both a physical and a chemical type of sunscreen. The sunscreens out there with titanium dioxide only will not provide as much protection as one which would have zinc oxide in it. Titanium dioxide doesn't provide full coverage against UVA, but zinc oxide does, and that's why you should not buy a sunscreen with titanium dioxide but without zinc oxide. Earlier I said that Koreans are always reinventing their sunscreens, and physical sunscreens are definitely part of that. Formulations have become lighter. For a lot of sunscreens, the white cast only lasts for 20 to 30 minutes. So when you apply it, you're advised to give it time to settle before going outside. So while it does give you that white cast, a superior advantage is that it will block all UVA from entering into your skin. It gives you a lighter glow. It also doesn't clog your pores, and it's also appropriate for sensitive and oily skin types. In fact, those two are encouraged to go for physical sunscreens, but a few disadvantages will be that it won't spread easily. Make sure you cover the full surface area, because if you're applying here and then you just go this way, this patch here will be unprotected. So that's what I mean by full surface area. And also some of them don't behave well with sweat. Once you start sweating, the sunscreen comes off, but there are waterproof sunscreens out there to sort that out. It is said that there's a sunscreen perfect for everyone. If you haven't found yours yet, keep looking. I currently have 3 sunscreens that I am using, starting off with the Apu Pure Block Natural Sun Cream, which has an SPF of 45 PA+++. They say it uses organic UV filters. I know for a fact that this has octinoxate and octisalate, and it also has emollient moisturizing ingredients, aloe extract, raspberry mix, pomegranate, and no alcohol. When I bought this sunscreen, I didn't use it on a daily basis because I was afraid of it running out, because it is quite small. But when I went to Kilifi, I survived on this sunscreen for 7 days, came back with it as an empty. It feels more like a lotion than a sunscreen to me. Leaves you so shiny, and the effect is more of an oily shiny when you use it together with a moisturizer. I made that mistake once or twice and then never used a moisturizer when I was using this particular sunscreen. It also has a slight citrus scent. Would I use it again? Definitely, 100%. I love it for its lightweight. It literally doesn't feel like you have much product on your face, and you also don't need much to have maximum coverage thanks to it being a chemical sunscreen. Next we have my Alba Botanica Hawaiian Dry Oil Sunscreen, and it's funny, when I was at Healthy You buying this sunscreen, I remember asking one of those attendants, what does this mean, dry oil sunscreen? And she was like, it's an oil but a lighter version of an oil. Sasa dry oil. There's nothing like that. There's literally no difference between applying this and coconut oil. It feels the same. There is no difference between having the word dry oil there and just the word oil. because they're basically the same thing. It's an SPF 15 broad spectrum sunscreen, and this is a chemical sunscreen. Dry oil sunscreens usually have a very thin consistency, and thanks to that it's very easy to rub in so you can cover a large area. And this is an oil, so it will lock in moisture and protect you from dehydrated skin, and it can also be used for your hair. So as you're protecting your skin, spritz some on your hair to protect it from sun damage as well. It's got a nice tropical smell that leaves you smelling like a literal flower. It's like a mix of coconut oil and vanilla, and it smells delicious. It's got this convenient spray bottle design, so you can just target an area, spray it, and go on covering it. And it also comes with a cap, so it'll be protected when you have it in your luggage. I said it feels like an oil, so every time I'm applying this, I love the sensation. It goes on just like your coconut oil, your shea butter, and those two ingredients make up this sunscreen as well. I bought this specifically for my Kilifi trip, and I ended up regretting that kinda because there's no way you're applying an oil in 30 degrees weather. I was sweating within 5 minutes of applying this sunscreen, and then I noticed if I stayed out too long in the sun, probably 10 minutes or more, I'd start feeling like I'm literally on fire. So this is my go-to sunscreen when I am indoors, because no sweating, no feeling hot. And remember earlier I said different sunscreens go for different seasons, so this is definitely not a beach sunscreen. This is a winter cold day kind of sunscreen. My most recent purchase is this Misha waterproof sun milk sunscreen. It has an SPF of 50 plus and a PA plus 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 plus. This is definitely a hot summer beach type of sunscreen. I bought this because of the reviews. It's said to be the sunscreen that will make you want to start applying sunscreen. It has a very thin watery consistency. It's praised for its moisturizing abilities, gives you a glossy effect. You won't be able to sweat it off, which means it might be difficult to wash off. Expect a review over the next couple of weeks. It's quite tiny, which is something I've noticed about Korean sunscreens. This sunscreen is a chemical and a physical type of sunscreen. It has zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, and other chemical UV filters. Some people say it has a white cast, other people say it doesn't. We'll see together on this channel.
Through to you.
Yes, we are being told to wear sunscreen, spread it evenly, but what exactly does that mean? How much sunscreen is enough sunscreen? It said that you need 2 layers of application. So you go on with your first layer and another one on top, and that will fit about half a teaspoon. Most sunscreens only last for 2 hours, after which you'd need another application. Of course, there's many benefits to wearing sunscreen, like the obvious ones: prevents skin cancer, prevents rapid aging. But did you also know that sunscreen can prevent hyperpigmentation? And it can also help reduce acne scars. When sebum and UVA combine, they produce a thicker substance that ends up clogging pores, hence more acne. But when you use sunscreen, you're able to prevent that. Sunscreen is a must, especially if you have these serums in your routine like retinol, vitamin C. These actually make your skin more susceptible to sun damage. It doesn't matter how expensive your vitamin C serums are, your anti-aging eye creams are. If you're doing that $200 nighttime routine and you are neglecting to wear sunscreen during the day, it is all useless. A few negative aspects of sunscreen are some of those that I mentioned earlier, like some causing allergies. Others are known to cause hormone disruption. Actually, for a lot of sunscreens, you'll see on the label written no oxybenzone in this sunscreen because that ingredient is known to cause hormone disruption. So that's all I had for you today. I really hope that you learned something from this video. My question to you is, are you going to wear sunscreen after watching this? Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you so much for keeping me company. I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.
Be back again. Kept my head down, tried.